if you're going to make the break and go into fractional work, you need to be able to be prepared to walk away from a client when it gets bad. Um, and the client might not think it's bad. So what does that mean? You need that emergency fund or that fallback position, to where you know you're going to be okay for 2 to 4 months as you find that next client and ramp up. So that's number one. It's that FU money, flip you money, that is your emergency fund that gives you freedom and agency to leave. Before that happens, though, you have to have the difficult conversation. Like, hey, John, I'm not getting the sense that you like me, that this is a good, fair partnership. Like, anything I do, you're critical of, and yet you tell me you want me to be proactive. And there's no education or encouragement along the line. So, what can we fix this? Because if we can't fix this, I'm obviously not the right fit here. And that is holding a mirror up to the client and saying, do you want to acknowledge this? Or, you know, almost acknowledging from the assistant perspective, I know I'm in an insubordinate role, but we work so closely together that if I'm not feeling part of the team and that we're rowing in the same direction and that I am part of your team and you protect and take care of and stand by people who are on your team versus treating this as a game and trying to score points on me when I screw up, it's not going to work. And that is a little bit of an old school mentality from a principal perspective when it comes to um, keeping score and trying to find fault. And, you know, that does not beget a strong partnership, you know. Uh, and it is a fine line because the principal has to let the assistant know when they do something they don't like. But being able to do it in an empathetic way, like, look, I know I told you that it usually happens like this, but in this instance, because of X, Y, and Z, it actually happens like this, and this was wrong. And luckily, we can change this, and let's move on. Now, that's not all cuddly, touchy feely, kind of, oh my God, it's okay, don't worry about it. No, be a professional, but have the difficult conversation. That's principal towards assistant. Assistant towards principal, you got to be like, John, I know you're slammed. I know you're under a lot of stress to close this deal, but we're on the same team and I don't feel like it. And if this continues, I'm not the right person for this seat. And you need to be prepared for them to turn around and say, you're right, it's not working. I'm going to move on. Then fine. That's it. And that's where your emergency fund kicks in. That's where you know, before you have that difficult conversation, you know that you can walk away. And a lot of people aren't thinking of the second and third and fourth order effects of when they have a conversation like that. The other thing can happen where they're like, you know what? I am really stressed. You're right. I haven't I haven't been able to put the time into really going through this with you. You need the context to be successful. I promise I'm going to do that moving forward. Let's start on a new foot and let's make that happen. Let's look at my calendar right now when I can block out an hour and let's take it. And I know that this hour is going to cost us in the short term speed, but it's going to pay for itself dividends in the long term by efficiency and you being able to run autonomously. So, but it's shocking how many people can't have that conversation. And it's just, either the assistant or the principal, both ways. It's just shocking. Um, and then they or the passive aggressiveness that comes through, and that goes both ways too. Like if an assistant doesn't feel part of the team and doesn't feel like they're getting supported and feels like any little mistake they make that can actually be fixed very fairly simply is cause for an uproar, of course their communication is gonna become more terse. Of course they're gonna feel they're gonna seem more aloof and just get the job done as opposed to being a partner. And and it's like if you haven't given created the opportunity for them to shine on a continual basis and reinforce that, it's never going to happen.